Are you working right now?
Hello, August. I am at work, yes, but it's fine. I can talk for a bit if you need something.
I just wanted to tell you that I saw the photos from your wedding. You brought them to my parents' house this morning, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Your mother mentioned she wanted copies of the family photos we took at the wedding, so I brought them over as she requested. Is there something about the photos that caught your attention?
Well, I was just looking at them and I couldn't help but wonder. Was that wedding really what you wanted? I mean, honestly, it was just so plain. You only invited family and it wasn't anything extravagant at all. To be honest, it felt less like a wedding and more like a casual family dinner, don't you think? Just a small meal with a few people.
I understand that it might have come across that way, but both my husband and I are more private people. We aren't really interested in anything flashy or showy, and we felt content with having a small, simple ceremony. Even though it was modest, we were just happy to be able to have a wedding at all, honestly.
Does that mean that you're really struggling financially? I mean, that's the impression I'm getting.
I'm sorry, what do you mean by that?
I mean, come on, isn't it obvious? Even if you're the type who says they prefer a small wedding, most people would still put in effort to make it feel a bit more elegant. The restaurant you booked for the reception was so tiny, and there wasn't even anyone else there besides our family. It honestly felt like we were just eating at some local diner instead of attending an actual wedding reception.
I guess everyone has their own perception, but we actually thought it was quite a nice, refined place.
Refined? I didn't get that vibe at all. Oh, I often go to upscale restaurants for lunch with my mom's friends, so I can definitely tell when a place is high class or not. Just a bit of advice. Trying too hard to appear fancy isn't necessary,
I wasn't trying to appear fancy at all, actually.
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, does my brother really make so little money? I mean, come on, you're both working and yet you couldn't even afford a proper wedding venue? It's almost like you're both low-income earners or something, don't you think? Kind of sad, really.
And please don't worry about us. That wedding was exactly what we both wanted, so I don't think you need to feel sorry for us.
Oh, come on. There's no need to put on a brave face. A wedding is a special once-in-a-lifetime event for a woman, There's no way any woman would have been satisfied with something so low-key.
Well, that's just your perspective on it, isn't it?
It's not my perspective. I just say how most women in the world would feel. But I guess you just don't want people to know that you're struggling financially. Unfortunately, I can see right through it.
That's fine. You're free to think of it however you like.
You're only saying that because you have nothing to argue back with, right? If I were you, I'd just admit the truth. But, if you ever are in need of money, don't expect me to lend you any.
Don't worry. I have no intention of borrowing money from you, so that won't be an issue.
Wow, you really aren't cute at all, are you? I was actually looking forward to having a younger sister-in-law, But with you, it's just, well, we don't really click, do we? It's a shame. Things might have been different if we had better chemistry.
Maybe we don't get along because you keep saying such rude things to me.
Or maybe it's because you're always putting on a show, acting like you're something you're not. Poor people should act like the part and try to get along with everyone instead of showing off.
I'm sorry, but I really should get back to work.
Yeah. You've got nothing left to say, huh? Oh, and by the way, we're having a barbecue at our parents' house this weekend. You and my brother should come. We'll make sure to have some good quality meat for you. Something you probably wouldn't get to eat normally. Make sure to savor it. Katie, thanks for helping with the barbecue cleanup yesterday. Though, it's too bad, isn't it? You couldn't eat much of the meat since you had to work most of the time.
It's no trouble, really. I did manage to have a little, so I'm fine, thank you.
Oh, but wasn't it not enough for you? It's such a shame. You couldn't really enjoy it after coming all this way. I'm sorry about that. Next time I'll make sure to get a lot more meat just for you.
You really don't have to go out of your way to do that. It's perfectly fine.
Oh, really? Well, that's funny because I saw you eating the leftovers that my husband gave you. Most of it was practically burnt, and yet you were eating it all up. My husband and I couldn't help but laugh seeing you gobble it down.
So that was your idea of a joke then?
Well, people who are struggling with money are used to eating burnt or leftover food, right? It wouldn't be wasteful to throw it away after all.
You know, I've been meaning to ask for a while now. Why do you always treat me like I'm some poor person? We don't have any debts or financial issues. We get by just fine. Every time I come to visit your family, you keep making these remarks that just sound like you're trying to put me down. I'd really appreciate it if you could stop.
Isn't it obvious? It's because you just give that poor vibe.
My appearance? You mean?
Well, yeah, your appearance is one part of it, and then there's a whole vibe you give off too. Like, just look at that pitiful wedding you had. Honestly, it screamed poor from every angle. The fact that you don't even realize it is kind of embarrassing, actually. And as for me, I never had to worry about money. I grew up in a pretty comfortable family, and now I'm married to someone who works for a top company, so money's never been an issue for us either. I'm just not really comfortable with poor-looking people around me, if I'm being honest.
I see. That's what you think then.
Honestly, I just don't understand what my brother saw in you to marry you. Before he met you, he used to treat himself to nice things, and now, like buying the occasional designer item. But ever since he married you, he's lost all interest in those things. It's like he's changed, all because he married somebody like you.
I think that naturally, people's spending habits change once they're married. It's just part of building a life together.
Is that so? Or maybe it's just that you bring bad financial luck to him. Besides, you weren't raised by a single parent, a single father, right?
Yes, that's correct.
I had some classmates growing up who were raised in single-father households too, and they were all pretty poor. Their fathers usually worked at factories, and they just looked a little rough around the edges, if you know what I mean. Now that I think about it, your father kind of reminds me of them.
And what's wrong with having a steady job? I think all types of work are respectable in their own way.
Now that sounds exactly like something someone poor would say. I mean, if you didn't tell yourself things like that, it'd be hard to get through life, wouldn't it? Well, anyway, I've got to head out soon for my nail appointment. You, on the other hand, should get back to your job and work hard, all right? Even if all that hard work probably doesn't add up to much of a paycheck, am I right? Hey, Katie, was that you just now by the station?
Yes, I was waiting for the company car to pick me up.
I knew it was you. I was actually on my way to the dermatology appointment by taxi, and then, lo and behold, I saw you standing there.
I see. What a coincidence.
And wait, were you wearing work clothes?
Yes, that's right. I was in my work uniform.
What? No way, you're joking, right? Work clothes? Are you serious?
Is there something strange about that?
Of course it's strange. A woman wearing work clothes for a job? It's so low class. Going around in such a messy outfit? Where are you off to?
Well, actually, I was on my way to inspect the factory where your husband works.
What? The factory where my husband works? What are you even talking about? My husband goes to work in a suit, for your information.
I understand, but it is the truth.
And inspect the factory? What? Do you even hear yourself? That's so ridiculous. Are you all right in the head?
I could ask you the same question. Just so you know, I'm actually your husband's superior at work.
I've never heard that before, so it must be nonsense. What on earth are you saying? You're actually worrying me with these delusions. If you keep making stuff up, it's a bit concerning.
Honestly, I think I'm the one who should be worried. I just hope you won't regret this later.
Why in the world would I regret it? It's honestly the worst having someone like you as family. You're just so low class, and it's not even like we have anything in common anyway. But let's get one thing clear. The only one who'll be regretting anything here is you.
Me? And why is that exactly?
Because lying at your age is just pathetic, that's why. There's no way a low-class woman in work clothes could ever be in a position to be my husband's superior. It's too funny. I have to tell everyone about this one.
Please, go right ahead. Do whatever you like. It's not as if I have anything to worry about.
Oh, and you bet I will. Next time you show up at my parents' house, everyone will see you and burst out laughing. Actually, now that I think about it, maybe I'll bring it up at the family memorial gathering. I can already imagine your face when you realize how embarrassed you should be. I can't wait to see it. Excuse me, Katie? Do you have a moment?
Yes, what's this about?
Well, it's a bit embarrassing, but my husband, he told me that you actually came for an inspection at the factory yesterday. He mentioned that you were from the head office, and he said you're actually on the board of directors? I didn't know it was true. Is it really true, Katie?
Yes, that's true.
I can't believe it. I'm so sorry. I really honestly didn't know. I had no idea at all.
Well, I didn't mention it to you, so it's only natural that you wouldn't know.
But why? Why didn't you say something earlier? I would have really liked it if you had let me know. I feel like I could have made more of an effort to be closer to you. I mean, I could have tried to understand you better, even.
I didn't say anything because I didn't want to make things awkward or put pressure on you or your family. And beyond that, I wanted to be accepted by my husband's family just as I am. I didn't want my position or background to influence things. But I say that to you, I just came off as some poor girl with nothing to her name. I apologize if I seemed poor to you.
No, not at all. Now that I think back, I can see there was actually something quite elegant about the simplicity of your clothes you wore. They had a kind of refined style, really. And even the restaurant where you held your wedding, oh, the food was excellent. I remember it was some of the best food I've ever tasted. It must have been a high-class place, right?
I wouldn't call it high class necessarily. It's not outrageously expensive, but it is a small place with a long waiting list. About a few years, actually. They only allow one booking per day, so it's a bit exclusive in that sense.
A place like that for a wedding, I mean, it shows a touch of class, doesn't it? Real refinement, Katie. I guess that's the thing that only people of a certain level can imagine.
It's not really a reflection on me. I just went with a recommendation from my father. I was fortunate, really.
A recommendation from your father? So your father is someone well-known too? Hold on a second. Katie, your father would not happen to be the chairman of my husband's company, would he? I think your maiden name was the same.
Yes, that's right. My father is indeed the chairman.
Oh, my goodness, I'm so sorry. Katie, I can't even begin to, say how sorry I am. I mean, I've said so many cruel things to you. I know that, but it was just all a huge misunderstanding. I swear I didn't mean any real harm, truly.
No need to apologize. Even if you were to apologize now, it wouldn't erase the things you've done up until now. I haven't forgotten all the snide remarks and nasty comments.
Oh, please don't say that. We're family, right? I want us to be on better terms.
I don't recall ever feeling like we were close. Each time I visited, you would say nasty things, and even when I wasn't there, you'd still mock me in messages. I don't particularly mind being seen as poor or low class, but there's only so much rudeness one can endure. Why was it so important for you to see me as beneath you? Even if I were poor, why did it bother you so much?
Well, it's just, I've always thought people without money can sometimes be a bit unsavory. Shallow-minded, desperate. I mean, not you specifically, but in general, they might even stoop to stealing. It's just my own philosophy, but...
I see. Well, everyone is free to have their own thoughts, but I do think it's quite another thing to act on those thoughts and treat someone accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you're absolutely right. I realize that now. I really have done you a terrible disservice, Katie. I'm deeply sorry.
There's no need to keep apologizing. What's done is done.
But Katie, I have to ask. My husband mentioned that today he was called in by his direct superior. He seemed quite nervous about it. Is there any chance this has to do with me? I mean, all those things I said to you, he was so worried, wondering if he was going to get demoted or something. Please tell me this isn't your doing.
No, not at all. If he's done his job well, I have no complaints. I'm not one to blur the lines between work and personal matters.
Oh, thank goodness. I was so scared. But then again, don't you think it's a little unfair of him? He kept his work at a factory hidden from me this whole time. Sure, it's a prestigious company, but I had no idea he actually worked on the factory floor in coveralls.
Perhaps, over time, such things become trivial.
Wait a second, does that mean? Could he have been called in for a promotion? Like moving to the head office? Is that your doing?
How did you come to that conclusion? No, he was actually called in because he's been caught taking supplies from the company. A serious breach of trust.
What? My husband? Stealing? You must be mistaken.
I wish that were the case, but he's been taking a range of items, from small supplies to items worth thousands of dollars. He apologized and claimed it was due to the pressures he was facing at home, specifically the issues with you. We had a meeting on this just recently.
No, that can't be. He earns a decent salary, doesn't he? He doesn't need to steal.
A decent salary only goes so far if it's spent irresponsibly. I suggest you discuss the details with him yourself.
Wait, what's going to happen to him? There has to be some sort of consequence, right? Like, what kind of punishment did he receive?
He'll face a pay cut and will be required to pay restitution for what he took.
A pay cut? He has to pay back what he stole? How? How much are we talking about?
Theft and embezzlement are serious offenses. He's lucky he's only being asked to repay what he took. The estimated total value is around $10,000.
This is unreal, Katie, please. There must be some way you can make this go away, right? We're family. Surely you have some influence.
Family ties have no bearing on this matter. As I've said, work and private life are separate.
But you're the chairman's daughter. You're bound to be the next president someday, aren't you? Surely you could do something.
Our company does not operate by nepotism. The position of president will go to the most capable person, and I don't consider myself a contender.
But Katie, you're already on the board at such a young age.
Even so, my title doesn't grant me the authority to dismiss consequences for theft. Many companies now hire young executives with fresh ideas, so my position is not unusual.
Oh, I see, but still, isn't there something you could do? We have children to take care of, and with a pay cut and the fines, we're really struggling.
If you're unable to pay, I suggest considering other financial options, like reaching out to your parents.
But my parents, I don't want them to find out about this. How can I tell them that he stole?
Perhaps this is one of those moments when pride should take a back seat.
Please, Katie, I'll do anything. I'll apologize as much as you want. I'll even get on my knees if that's what it takes. Just please help us, please.
No amount of apologies can erase what has happened. What you can do is cooperate with him and support each other to get through this. A year of reduced salary isn't forever, and once he repays the debt, you can go back to a more comfortable life.
But Katie, I don't know what to do. You're just doing this to get back at me for my past behavior, aren't you?
If you truly believe that enforcing consequences for theft is getting back at you, I don't think you fully understand the situation.
I'll change, Katie. Just give us one chance. I promise you I'll treat you with respect.
I understand that you're upset, But the truth is that this situation has escalated because of decisions made by your family. My involvement doesn't change the fact that actions have consequences. It's time to face them head on.
I know. I'm just so afraid of what this means for us. I don't know how we'll recover from something like this. The shame, the embarrassment, how will people look at us? What will they think?
You'll recover, but it's going to take time. And as for what others think, you can't control that. But what you can control is how you handle this moment and the way you work to restore trust.
I never thought it would get this bad. I've always been so focused on keeping up appearances, trying to maintain a certain status. I was never good at understanding what really matters. I was always so worried about what others thought about me.
The truth is, status and appearances are fleeting. At the end of the day, it's about integrity and how you treat the people closest to you. Your family will need to see you act with honesty and responsibility if you want to rebuild trust.
But you and your husband, you must have lived through some hardships too. How did you do it? How did you face those challenges without falling apart?
It wasn't easy, but we worked through it together. We faced our struggles head on without hiding from them. And we knew that honesty was the only way you move forward. If you pretend everything is fine when it's not, you only make things worse in the long run.
So you're saying that I can't hide from this? That I need to confront it, even if it means people will judge us?
Yes, hiding will only prolong the pain. You and your husband need to face the consequences of his actions together. It will hurt, but it's the only way to move forward. Pretending that everything is okay will only make things worse.
I don't know if I'm strong enough to do that. It feels like everything is falling apart around us.
It will feel that way at first, but you'll find your way. You'll rebuild piece by piece, but it requires hard work and the willingness to face reality. You'll need to support each other through this.
You really believe that, don't you? That we can fix this?
I do. It won't be easy, but it's possible. But you have to want it. You have to be willing to put in the work.
I'll try. I'll try my best to make things right. I want to do it for my family, for him, for me. I want to change, Katie. I really do.
I'm glad to hear that. Change is never easy, but it starts with acknowledging the problem and being willing to make amends. The most important thing is that you're willing to make that effort.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you for being so understanding. I know I've hurt you in the past, but I promise I'll do everything I can to show you that I could be a better person.
I'll be watching to see how you handle this, but I do believe people can change. I just hope you're truly ready to make that change.
I am. I really am. I'll do whatever it takes to prove it. I'll start by talking to my husband and getting him to take responsibility. We'll do this together, as a family.
That's a good first step. Work together and don't let the shame of this situation isolate you. It's important to support one another during times like this.
I will, and I'll be more mindful of my words and actions in the future. I promise I won't judge you or make you feel less than again. I'll respect you, Katie.
Respect is key. I appreciate that. But respect isn't just about words. It's about how we treat each other consistently.
I understand, and I will make sure that I live by those words from now on.
I'm glad we could talk about this openly. The next step is up to you, but I hope you take it seriously. There's still time to make things right, but it's going to take patience and effort.
I know. I'm ready to do what it takes. Thank you for giving me this chance, Katie.
I'm not giving you anything. I'm simply telling you what needs to be done. But I do hope you take it to heart and make the changes necessary.
I will. I really will. Thank you for your honesty. I won't forget it.
Good. Now let's leave it at that for today. I'm sure you have a lot to think about and you'll need time to process all of this. But I believe that in the end, your family can come out of this stronger if you work together.
I'll make it right, I promise.
I hope so. Take care and I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Katie. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye. After the incident, it appears that my sister-in-law and her husband had an enormous argument. The tension in their relationship must have been unbearable, and it's clear that things deteriorated to a level where they could no longer ignore the issues between them. They have children, so I suppose they decided against divorce, but it is abundantly clear that their relationship was deeply affected. They may have tried to put on a front for their friends and family, but I highly doubt that things were ever the same between them after everything that happened. In some ways, it almost felt as though the foundation of their marriage had cracked, and nothing could restore it to its original state. My sister-in-law had always been quite vocal about the success of her husband's career. She loved boasting to anyone who would listen about how he worked for a major company, constantly emphasizing his high-paying position and his success in the business world. For her, it was not just a matter of pride, it was a source of validation. She believed that the status and wealth that came with his job defined who they were as a family. She loved telling everyone about the glamorous lifestyle they led and the more expensive things they could afford. The more she flaunted it, to her, these material things were the ultimate symbol of success, and she did everything in her power to make sure that others saw her in that light. The thought of being seen as anything less than successful was unbearable to her. Her behavior, however, went far beyond just pride. It bordered on obsession with appearances, as though every purchase, every event they attended, and every social gathering they were part of had to reflect this image of affluence. She would buy the most expensive clothes, throw lavish parties, and indulge in a lifestyle that required constant spending. There seemed to be no limit to the excess, as if money was an endless resource that could never run out. It was almost as though she thought that as long as she continued to present herself as living the perfect life, she could escape any deeper issues or insecurities she had. The problem, however, wasn't just with her. Her husband was just as bad. In fact, he was equally at fault for the state of their relationship. He didn't help matters by feeding into her need for excess. He didn't just go along with her demands, but he was also hiding a significant truth from her. He lied to her about where he actually worked. While he told her that he was employed at the corporate headquarters of his company, the reality was that he worked at a factory. He built an entire narrative around this lie, a story he told to her and to others, painting a picture of himself as a man of great importance in the business world. But the truth was far from glamorous. In fact, it was a far cry from what he was portraying. He had taken on this false identity, probably out of pride, to match the expectations of his wife. He wanted to fit into the image of success that she had created in her mind. He thought that if he told her he worked in an executive role, it would somehow validate their lifestyle and make their social position seem more secure. But the reality was that he was not a part of the corporate elite he had portrayed. He was just a man working at a factory, trying to hold on to a facade that no one really believed. He lived in constant fear that his secret would be exposed, and this fear undoubtedly contributed to the strain in their relationship. This deceit had serious consequences, both for their relationship and for their financial stability. It was clear that he was living a lie, pretending to be someone he wasn't, and in doing so, he was enabling my sister-in-law's reckless spending habits. He never said no to her when she asked for money or for the latest luxury item. The couple was trapped in this vicious cycle of materialism and deception. They were both caught up in this web of lies and pretense, and it's no wonder their marriage was struggling. They were both in over their heads, constantly trying to keep up the illusion of perfection, even though everything around them was starting to crumble. In some ways, they were like two people trapped in a fantasy they created for themselves, where appearances were everything, and the truth didn't matter as long as they could maintain their status. As frustrating as their behavior was, I also couldn't ignore the larger issue at hand. They were both playing this game of deception, but at the expense of everything else. Their entire relationship had been built on lies, on false narratives, and on the need to maintain an image of success. And now, that image had come crashing down. The theft, which I'm sure they thought would go unnoticed, was discovered. And while I can't condone the act itself, I have to admit that it was a wake-up call for everyone involved. Theft is, without a doubt, unacceptable, and the person responsible for taking company property must face the consequences of their actions. There's no excuse for it, no matter what led up to it. The truth is that stealing, regardless of the reason, is wrong and must be addressed head-on. But there's a deeper lesson here as well. This situation wasn't just about a simple theft. It was about the culmination of everything they had been doing wrong. Their entire relationship had been built on lies, on the constant need to prove their worth through material goods and external validation. Their marriage had been, at its core, based on illusions. This theft was merely the breaking point, the event that forced them to confront the reality of their lives, a reality that had been carefully hidden behind a facade of wealth and status. Now, the cracks in their relationship were too obvious to ignore. In terms of the workplace, there's no rooms for mistakes like this. If something like this were to happen again, I wouldn't hesitate to take action. He has already shown that he can't be trusted with responsibilities, and if there's another issue at the company because of his behavior, he will be fired without a second thought. His actions have proven that he is incapable of the integrity required to work in a company, and this is something that can't be overlooked. At some point, everyone has to take responsibility for their actions, and he's no exception. If he's truly sorry for what he's done, he'll have to prove it with his actions, not just words. Ever since the incident, my sister-in-law and her husband have gone out of their way to avoid me. I've noticed that when I go to my in-laws' house, they suddenly seem to have urgent matters to attend to, making it impossible for them to meet with me. They've been avoiding any kind of direct interaction, probably because they know how badly they've embarrassed themselves. They are trying to distance themselves from me, likely because they're afraid of facing the consequences of their actions or being called out on their lies. What's even more telling is that it seems they haven't told my in-laws about the theft. They've kept quiet about it, likely because they're afraid that the truth will come out. They must be terrified that I might tell everyone what really happened. I'm sure they're on edge, constantly wondering when I might expose them. The fear in their eyes is palpable whenever I'm around, and it's clear they're worried that I might ruin their reputation. But they don't understand me. I have no intention of telling anyone about the incident. It's not my place, and I'm not someone who enjoys stirring up trouble. I'm perfectly content leaving things as they are and letting them handle their own mess. However, the fact that they're so paranoid about what I might do speaks volumes. They're so consumed by their own guilt and fear that they can't even look me in the eye without wondering if I'm about to reveal their secrets. But they need to understand that I won't be the one to bring it to light. I have no reason to make their lives harder than they already are. They've dug their own grave, and it's up to them to lie in it. What matters to me now is how I choose to live my life moving forward. I've learned that it's important to focus on my own well-being and to surround myself with people who truly care about me. I'm no longer concerned with the drama of other people's lives. I'll continue to be true to myself, live with integrity, and prioritize those who treat me with respect and kindness. The people who matter in my life are the ones who support me, who lift me up when I need it, and who are there for me when times are tough. I also know that I must continue to live a life that I can be proud of. There's no point in trying to impress others or chasing after fleeting things that won't bring me true happiness. I've learned to focus on what really matters: my relationships, my health, and my personal growth. The rest of it, the superficial things, will never bring me the fulfillment I seek. I want to look back on my life with no regrets, knowing that I lived it in a way that was true to my values. As for my sister-in-law and her husband, I can only hope that they eventually realize what they've lost. They've made their choices, and now they have to live with the consequences. I can't be the one to fix their mistakes. If they want to make things right, they'll have to do it themselves. But I have no intention of holding their hands through the process. I've done my part by standing by my principles, and if they ever decide to change, it will have to be without my assistance. Thank you for watching and listening. We hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Also, feel free to leave a comment about what you thought of the story. We look forward to seeing you at the next story.